She had exactly 12 minutes to hack into the enemy's encrypted network before their cyber attack would cripple the entire electrical grid of the eastern seaboard, and every expert in U.S. Cyber Command knew the awkward girl with thick glasses would never break through their advanced security systems in time. Captain Lisa Park's fingers flew across multiple keyboards in the darkened command center at Fort Gordon, lines of code streaming across her monitors as enemy malware continued its relentless assault on American infrastructure. Her teammates had already been locked out of their systems by sophisticated countermeasures, leaving her alone to prevent what intelligence analysts called the most devastating cyber attack in U.S. history. Lisa Park had never looked like a cyber warrior. At 29, she stood 5 feet 3 inches with black hair that perpetually escaped from her regulation bun and thick-rimmed glasses that made her look more like a graduate student than a military officer. Her path to the elite cyber operations specialist course had been unconventional, starting with a computer science PhD from Carnegie Mellon, and a childhood spent building computers in her parents' electronics repair shop in San Francisco's Chinatown. The Fort Gordon cyber training facility hummed with skepticism the day Lisa arrived for the military's most challenging cyber warfare program. Colonel James "Firewall" Anderson, a veteran of the first generation of military cyber operations with 3 successful defensive campaigns under his belt, looked her up and down with obvious doubt. "They're sending us computer science professors now," he announced to the assembled candidates, his words cutting through the Georgia humidity. "Hope she understands that real cyber warfare isn't a theoretical exercise." The other candidates represented the elite of military cyber operations. There was Major Chris "Lightning" Roberts, a former NSA analyst who could penetrate most commercial networks in under 5 minutes. Captain Alex "Phantom" Chen from the Air Force, whose offensive cyber capabilities had been proven in classified operations overseas. And Captain Marcus "Viper" Williams, the general's protege, who never missed an opportunity to remind everyone that his cyber warfare techniques had been adopted as standard doctrine. "Park, you're up," Anderson barked during the first penetration testing exercise. The target was a simulated enemy network with military-grade encryption and active countermeasures. Standard successful penetration time was 45 minutes for experienced operators. Chris had achieved access in 23 minutes. Alex managed 31 minutes. Marcus clocked in at an impressive 18 minutes. Lisa approached the exercise methodically, her screens filled with code analysis tools and network mapping software. She studied the target's architecture patterns, analyzed the encryption algorithms, and traced the defensive protocols through multiple layers of security. The exercise stretched past an hour, then 90 minutes. Anderson's voice grew increasingly frustrated over the intercom. "Park, this isn't a doctoral dissertation. Real cyber operations happen in real time with real consequences." The other candidates watching from adjacent workstations began exchanging glances. Chris whispered to Alex, maybe she should stick to teaching computer theory at some college. But Lisa had discovered something the others had missed. The network's security architecture contained subtle inconsistencies that suggested it was designed to allow rapid penetration through conventional attack vectors while hiding much more sophisticated defenses against advanced persistent threats. It was a honeypot system designed to trap attackers who relied on speed over analysis. "I need another 30 minutes to properly analyze the defensive structure," Lisa reported through her headset. "Negative, Park. Mission failure. In a real operation, you just gave the enemy 2 hours to complete their objectives while you sat there thinking about it." The criticism stung, but Lisa had learned something crucial. The simulation wasn't just testing penetration speed. It was testing the ability to recognize when rapid attacks would trigger more sophisticated defensive responses. Week after week, the pattern repeated. Lisa would take significantly longer than the others to complete exercises, carefully analyzing each system's architecture while her classmates relied on proven attack methodologies and superior processing speed. Anderson grew increasingly frustrated with her methodical approach, dubbing her Tortoise in front of the other trainees. The nickname stuck, and soon everyone was using it with obvious mockery intended. During rapid response exercises, Lisa's cautious approach to system analysis was seen as a liability rather than wisdom. When simulated attacks required immediate countermeasures, she would spend crucial minutes understanding the attack vectors while her teammates deployed standard defensive protocols. The military doesn't have time for academic research projects in every cyber engagement, Anderson told her after another lengthy exercise. Either develop some speed or find yourself analyzing spreadsheets in an office somewhere safe. But Lisa's academic background had taught her something her classmates hadn't learned yet. Growing up in her parents' repair shop, where rushing through diagnostic procedures could destroy expensive equipment, she had learned that understanding the problem completely was more important than implementing solutions quickly. Computers don't lie, but they don't tell you everything either, her father would tell her as they worked on circuit boards together. You have to listen to what the system is really saying, not just what you want to hear. 2 months into the program, everything changed during a complex multi-vector cyber defense exercise. The scenario involved defending critical infrastructure systems against a coordinated attack that combined traditional malware, social engineering, and advanced persistent threats. It was the kind of sophisticated assault that nation-state actors were using against American targets with increasing frequency. Chris took command of the defensive response, coordinating the 4-person team with his usual aggressive confidence. The plan was straightforward: identify the attack vectors quickly, deploy standard countermeasures, and isolate compromised systems before the attack could spread to critical infrastructure. But as they began their defensive operations, Lisa noticed patterns in the attack signatures that made her deeply uncomfortable. The malware wasn't behaving according to known parameters. The attack vectors were too sophisticated for the briefed threat profile, and the persistence mechanism suggested capabilities that exceeded typical criminal cyber organizations. Team leader, I'm detecting anomalies in the attack patterns that don't match our threat assessment, Lisa reported through her headset. Copy that, Tortoise, Chris replied dismissively. Standard malware with some custom modifications. Nothing we haven't seen before. Lisa studied her analysis screens more carefully. The attack code contained elements that she recognized from classified intelligence reports about advanced nation-state cyber weapons. The techniques being used suggested capabilities that were supposed to be theoretical, not operational. Team leader, request permission to conduct deep code analysis before implementing countermeasures, Lisa transmitted. Negative, Park. We're implementing immediate containment. No time for academic research. But Lisa's instincts, honed by years of methodical analysis, were screaming warnings. She had read every cyber threat assessment coming out of the intelligence community, studied every advanced persistent threat that had been identified in recent operations. The attack signatures looked exactly like the sophisticated nation-state tools that had been causing unprecedented damage to Allied infrastructure. As Chris led the team through standard defensive protocols, Lisa made a decision that would either end her military career or save American infrastructure. She began conducting unauthorized deep analysis of the attack code, using processing resources that should have been dedicated to the team's coordinated response. Park, what are you doing? Anderson's voice crackled through her headset from the control room. Get back to your assigned defensive sector immediately. Sir, I believe this is an advanced persistent threat using previously unknown capabilities. Our standard countermeasures may actually facilitate the attack rather than stopping it, Lisa replied, her voice steady despite the career-ending nature of her insubordination. "Return to standard protocols now, or you're out of the program," Anderson commanded. But Lisa's analysis had revealed something terrifying. The attack wasn't just malware. It was a sophisticated intelligence-gathering operation designed to map American defensive capabilities while appearing to be a standard cyber attack. Every countermeasure the team deployed was being analyzed and recorded by the enemy system, creating a complete blueprint of American cyber defense protocols. "Team leader, do not implement the standard isolation protocols," Lisa transmitted urgently. "The attack code is designed to learn from our defensive responses. Every countermeasure we deploy is giving them intelligence about our capabilities." Chris's voice came through the radio, confusion replacing his earlier confidence. "What are you talking about, Park? The containment is working. We're isolating the infected systems." "You're not isolating anything," Lisa replied, her analysis screen showing the true scope of the attack. "The malware is allowing itself to be contained while secretly mapping our entire defensive network. It's gathering intelligence about our protocols, our response times, and our system architectures." Lisa had identified the attack's true purpose. It wasn't designed to cause immediate damage. It was a reconnaissance operation preparing for a much larger assault. The apparent success of standard defensive measures was actually the attack's primary objective. "The real attack hasn't started yet," she announced to the team. "This is intelligence gathering for something much bigger." Lisa's unauthorized analysis had revealed the attack's true architecture. Hidden within the obvious malware was a sophisticated intelligence collection system that was mapping American cyber defense capabilities in real time. It was designed to be defeated by standard countermeasures while secretly gathering the information needed for a devastating follow-up attack. Working frantically, Lisa began developing countermeasures that would feed false information to the enemy intelligence gathering system while appearing to respond normally to the surface-level attack. It required understanding not just the attack code, but the strategic objectives behind it. "How did you identify the intelligence collection component?" Anderson asked through her headset, his tone shifting from anger to professional curiosity. "The attack code contained efficiency optimizations that only make sense if the primary objective is data collection rather than system damage," Lisa explained while continuing to work. The malware was too sophisticated for simple destructive purposes, but perfectly designed for intelligence gathering. Over the next hour, Lisa's approach proved correct. Her countermeasures successfully fed false information to the enemy intelligence system while protecting American defensive capabilities from exposure. When the exercise concluded, the attack had been not only defeated but turned into a counterintelligence operation that provided valuable information about enemy capabilities. The debriefing room was silent as the exercise controllers reviewed the analysis. Lisa's identification of the hidden intelligence collection system had prevented what would have been a catastrophic compromise of American cyber defense protocols. Anderson stood at the front of the room, his expression a mixture of amazement and respect. "Park, your analysis was brilliant. You identified a threat vector that our entire doctrine doesn't address." Lisa remained quiet, knowing that praise for unauthorized actions could quickly turn to disciplinary action if her insubordination was seen as problematic. "However," Anderson continued, "your ability to think beyond standard protocols while developing innovative countermeasures shows exactly the kind of strategic thinking we need in modern cyber warfare." Chris stepped forward, his earlier arrogance replaced by genuine admiration. "Sir, Park saved the entire exercise. Her analysis was perfect, and her countermeasures were more sophisticated than anything in our current doctrine. The other candidates nodded in agreement. Even Alex, who had initially dismissed her as too slow and academic, now recognized that her methodical approach had consistently produced superior results. The key is understanding that modern cyber warfare is about strategic thinking as much as it is about technical skill, Lisa explained when asked to brief the class on her methods. Speed and technical capability are still important, but the ability to understand an adversary's true objectives is becoming more critical in complex threat environments. Over the following weeks, Lisa's analytical methods began to influence the entire program. Her approach to threat assessment, combined with her innovative defensive strategies, started appearing in other candidates' operational planning. Anderson began incorporating her techniques into the official curriculum. The final exercise was a realistic scenario based on actual ongoing cyber threats. Lisa's team was tasked with defending critical infrastructure against a sophisticated nation-state attack that combined multiple attack vectors and advanced persistence mechanisms. It was the kind of operation that cyber warfare specialists were facing regularly in real-world conflicts. Lisa was assigned as the junior analyst, a role that typically involved implementing the team leader's decisions without question. But as they analyzed the incoming threat, Lisa's assessment revealed complexities that the standard response protocols couldn't address. The attack was using artificial intelligence to adapt its approach in real time, learning from defensive responses and modifying its tactics faster than human operators could counter them. Standard cyber defense doctrine assumed static threats that could be defeated with predetermined countermeasures. "We need to think differently about this," Lisa proposed during the initial threat assessment. "This isn't a conventional attack. It's an AI-driven assault that's learning from everything we do." Marcus, who had been designated team leader, was skeptical. "AI adaptive malware is still theoretical. We stick to proven countermeasures." "The attack patterns I'm seeing suggest machine learning algorithms that are actively studying our defensive responses," Lisa replied. "Every countermeasure we implement is teaching the attack system how to be more effective." The debate continued for precious minutes while the attack continued to probe American systems. Finally, Anderson made the decision to let Lisa implement her unconventional approach to AI adaptive threats. Lisa's strategy was unlike anything in military cyber doctrine. Instead of trying to defeat the attack directly, she began implementing countermeasures designed to confuse the enemy AI by feeding it contradictory information about American defensive capabilities. Her approach turned the attack's learning capability against itself. "I'm using the enemy's adaptability as a weakness," she explained as she worked. "If it's designed to learn from our responses, I can teach it the wrong lessons." Lisa's countermeasures were elegant in their sophistication. She created false defensive patterns that appeared successful, but actually guided the enemy AI toward vulnerabilities that didn't exist. The attack system, designed to learn and adapt, began optimizing for scenarios that Lisa had artificially created. Within 2 hours, the enemy AI had learned itself into ineffectiveness, pursuing attack vectors that Lisa's false information had made appear promising, but were actually dead ends. The sophisticated adaptive threat had been neutralized by turning its greatest strength into a fatal weakness. "How did you know the AI would respond that way?" Anderson asked during the final debrief. "I understood its learning objectives," Lisa replied. "Once I figured out what it was trying to optimize for, I could control what it learned by managing the feedback it received from our systems." When graduation day arrived, Lisa Park stood at the top of her Cyber Operations Specialist course class. Not because she was the fastest or most technically proficient, but because she had proven that strategic thinking and deep analysis were more valuable than speed and conventional expertise in modern cyber warfare. General Patricia Chen, the commanding officer of U.S. Cyber Command, presented her with the Distinguished Graduate Award. Captain Park represents the evolution of cyber warfare, she told the assembled crowd. She has shown us that the operator who understands the adversary's strategic thinking will always defeat the operator who relies solely on technical superiority. Lisa's innovations were quickly incorporated into military cyber doctrine across all branches of the armed forces. Her approach to threat analysis, once seen as too slow and academic, became the foundation for next-generation cyber defense methodology. Years later, when asked about her success in cyber operations training, Lisa would always credit her parents' repair shop wisdom. "They taught me that every system has its own logic," she would say. "You just have to be patient enough to understand how it really works before you try to change it." The awkward girl with thick glasses who had been dismissed as too slow and theoretical had revolutionized modern cyber warfare. She had proven that in an era of AI-driven threats and adaptive adversaries, the greatest advantage comes not from processing information faster, but from understanding it more completely when everything depends on outsmarting rather than overpowering the enemy.